She had exactly 3 minutes before they found her. 3 minutes before the man Destiny said was her soulmate, but who reality proved was her nightmare, dragged her back to a cage gilded in gold. Sienna wasn't supposed to be running through the rain in a torn couture gown. She was supposed to be the Luna. But when Alpha Declan Pierce looked her in the eye and told her she was good enough for his bed, but not his throne, something in her snapped. She didn't run to her parents. She didn't run to the police. She ran to the one man even the monsters were afraid of. She ran to the Alpha King. And what Roman Sterling did when he found a shivering Omega on his doorstep didn't just break the rules. It started a war. The rain in Chicago didn't wash things clean. It just made the grime slicker. Sienna Hayes was currently indistinguishable from that grime. Her breath hitched in her throat, burning like swallowed glass. The $2,000 Jimmy Choo heel on her left foot had snapped 3 blocks ago, leaving her limping, half barefoot, onto the asphalt of Wacker Drive. She checked her phone, 3% battery, 1 new text from Declan Stopp making a scene. Sienna, come back to the penthouse. The investors are asking where my pet went. Pet? That was the word that had finally done it. For 3 years, Sienna had waited for the mating bond to settle. In the werewolf world, hidden beneath the veneer of corporate mergers and high society galas, the bond was law. She was an Omega from the small, struggling Pine Ridge pack. Declan Pierce was the Alpha of Silver Creek, a conglomerate-owning, venture capitalist powerhouse of a pack. When the scent hit them at the charity gala tonight, cedar and sea salt for her, vanilla and rain for him, she thought her life was starting. Declan had pulled her into the VIP lounge, his eyes darkening. He had inhaled her scent, groaned, and then he laughed. He had sneered, checking his Rolex. My fated mate is a waitress from Pine Ridge Christ. The moon goddess has a twisted sense of humor. He hadn't rejected her immediately. That would have been mercy. Instead, he offered her a position. Not as Luna, not as a wife, as a breeder, a secret mistress to bear strong heirs while he married the daughter of the Alpha from the Northern Territories for political leverage. You're an Omega, Declan had whispered, gripping her chin too hard. You're built to take orders and open your legs. Don't pretend you're royalty. That was 20 minutes ago. Now. Sienna was standing in front of the Sterling Tower. It was a monolith of black glass piercing the Chicago skyline, the headquarters of Sterling Industries, and the throne room of the Alpha King, Roman Sterling. Roman wasn't just an alpha. He was the apex. Rumors said he had killed his own father to take the throne. Rumors said he didn't have a heart, just a clockwork mechanism of ice and brutality. He governed the council, he set the laws, and he owed allegiance to no one. Sienna limped toward the revolving doors. 2 security guards, massive men. Clearly shifters stepped forward, blocking her path. Private property. Miss. The guard on the left grunted. Walk away. I need to see Roman Sterling, Sienna gasped, shivering as the freezing rain soaked through her silk dress. The guards exchanged a look of amusement. Yeah, and I need a date with Dua Lipa. Beat it, junkie. I'm not a junkie, Sienna yelled, the Omega in her screaming to submit, to cower, but the survival instinct overriding it. She shoved her phone at them. Look who's tracking me. She displayed the GPS tracker Declan had forced her to install on her phone for her safety. The dot was moving rapidly down Michigan Avenue. It was 2 minutes away. That's Declan Pierce, Sienna pleaded. He's going to kill me if he catches me. Please, I am invoking the sanctuary law. The guard paused. Sanctuary law was ancient, rarely used. It stated that any wolf could petition the king for protection if their own alpha was corrupt. But it came with a price. If the king deemed your request frivolous, he didn't just deny you, he executed you. Sanctuary law. A deep, baritone voice echoed from the lobby. The guards stiffened, their amusement vanishing instantly. They dropped their heads, baring their necks. Sienna looked up. Standing on the other side of the glass was a man who looked like he had been carved out of night. He was tall, over 6'4", wearing a bespoke charcoal suit that cost more than Sienna's entire life. His hair was black, swept back, and his eyes were the color of molten gold. Roman Sterling pushed the door open with one hand. He didn't look at the guards. He looked at Sienna. He looked at the mud on her legs, the broken shoe, the terror in her eyes. "You have 10 seconds, Roman said, his voice devoid of emotion. "Give me a reason why I shouldn't let Alpha Pierce drag you home by your hair." Sienna swallowed. "Because I'm his fated mate, and he just tried to make me his whore." Roman's eyes narrowed, just a fraction. Screeching tires cut through the rain. A matte black Range Rover swerved to the curb behind Sienna. She flinched, instinctively stepping toward Roman. Declan Pierce slammed the car door shut. He stormed onto the sidewalk, his expensive tuxedo wet within seconds. He looked furious, his eyes flashing red, the sign of an alpha losing control. "Sienna!" Declan roared. "Get in the car!" "Now!" He marched up the steps, ignoring the guards. He reached for Sienna's arm, his claws extending. "Touch her," Roman said softly, "and you lose the hand." Declan froze. He blinked, the red fading as he realized who was standing 3 feet away. The arrogance drained out of him, replaced by a primal fear. "King Sterling," Declan stammered, bowing his head slightly, but keeping his eyes on Sienna. "Forgive the intrusion. This is a domestic dispute. My pack member is having a mental health crisis. She's confused." "I'm not confused," Sienna cried out, stepping behind Roman's massive frame. "He rejected me as Luna, but refused to break the bond. He wants to keep me as a prisoner." Declan laughed nervously. "She's hysterical." "Roman, surely you don't have time for the ramblings of a defective Omega. She's nobody. Give her to me, and I'll ensure she doesn't bother you again." Roman looked at Declan. Then he looked at Sienna, who was clutching the back of his suit jacket. Trembling, the air pressure seemed to drop. The power radiating off Roman was suffocating. "You called her defective," Roman noted. "She is," Declan sneered, gaining confidence. "She comes from Pine Ridge, weak bloodline. She's lucky I'm even willing to house her." Roman turned slowly to face Sienna. He reached out, his hand large and warm. He didn't grab her. He gently brushed a wet strand of hair from her cheek. "Is this true?" Roman asked her. "Do you want to go with him?" "I would rather die," Sienna whispered. Roman nodded. He turned back to Declan. "You heard the lady." "She's my mate," Declan snarled, his wolf surfacing again. "You can't take her. That's theft." "I'm not taking her," Roman said. Unbuttoning his suit jacket, he took it off and draped it over Sienna's shoulders. It was heavy, warm, and smelled like expensive scotch and deep forest ozone. "I'm accepting her petition." "What petition?" Declan demanded. "Sanctuary," Roman said. "As of this moment, Miss Hayes is under the protection of the Obsidian Pack. She is a ward of the Crown." Declan's jaw dropped. "For an Omega, you're invoking royal wardship for a stray. Leave," Roman commanded. The single word hit them like a physical blow. The Alpha command. Declan fell to his knees, choking. He couldn't withstand the order. He scrambled up, humiliated, glaring at Sienna with pure hatred. "This isn't over. Sienna," Declan hissed. "He'll tire of you in a week, and when he throws you out, I'll be waiting." He got back in his Range Rover and peeled away. Sienna slumped, the adrenaline crashing. She would have hit the concrete if Roman hadn't caught her. He scooped her up into his arms effortlessly, as if she weighed nothing. "Don't get used to this," Roman muttered, carrying her into the lobby. "You just cost me a very lucrative contract with his pack." "Why did you do it?" Sienna whispered, resting her head against his chest. Roman looked down at her, his gold eyes unreadable. "Because," he said, walking toward the private elevator. "I hate waste," and he had no idea what he was holding. The penthouse of the Sterling Tower was less of a home and more of a fortress. It was stark, modern, and cold. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of Chicago, but the interior was all grey slate, black leather, and sharp angles. There were no photos, no personal touches. It was the lair of a solitary predator. Sienna sat on the edge of a massive velvet sofa, clutching a mug of tea that Roman's head of housekeeping, a kind older woman named Martha, had shoved into her hands. She was clean now. She had showered in a bathroom larger than her entire apartment back in Pine Ridge. She was wearing a pair of Roman sweatpants, which she had to roll up 5 times, and a black t-shirt that hung to her knees. She heard footsteps. Roman entered the room. He had changed into casual wear, dark jeans and a fitted black sweater. He held a tablet in his hand, his eyes scanning a document. "Your medical scan is complete," he said, not looking up. Sienna stiffened. "Scan, I thought the doctor just checked my ankle. I check everything that comes into my house," Roman said, sitting in the armchair opposite her. He finally looked up. "You're malnourished. Your cortisol levels are through the roof, and you have a scarring on your neck. Who did that?" Sienna touched her neck self-consciously. "My stepfather. Before I left Pine Ridge." Roman's jaw tightened. "I see. So, what happens now?" Sienna asked, her voice trembling slightly. Do I work for you? I can clean. I have a degree in accounting, actually, though Declan didn't let me use it." Roman placed the tablet on the coffee table. "You are a ward of the Crown, Sienna. That means you are untouchable. You don't clean. You don't work. You exist to recover." "That sounds too good to be true," Sienna said, narrowing her eyes. "My grandmother always said that if you sit at a king's table, you're either the guest or the meal. Which am I?" A ghost of a smile touched Roman's lips. It transformed his face, making him look younger, less terrifying. "Smart grandmother," he murmured. "But you're neither. You're a variable." "A variable in what?" "In a war you don't know is coming," Roman said, his face hardening again. He stood up and poured himself a drink from a crystal decanter. "Declan Pierce is a fool, but he's a powerful fool. He controls the shipping routes in the Midwest. By taking you, I've effectively declared war on his financial interests. He will rally the other alphas. He will claim I am a tyrant, stealing mates." "Then send me back," Sienna said quickly, standing up. "I won't let you start a war for me. I'm not worth it." Roman moved so fast she didn't see him move. Suddenly, he was standing right in front of her. He smelled intoxicating dark chocolate and power. "You have no idea what you're worth, Sienna Hayes," he said, his voice low. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. He tossed it to her. Sienna caught it. She opened it. Inside was a silver collar. Not a dog collar, a delicate, diamond-encrusted choker with the crest of the Obsidian Pack. "Wear it," Roman said. Sienna recoiled. "You said I wasn't a pet. Declan wanted to collar me. Declan wanted to collar you, to own you," Roman corrected. "I need you to wear that, because it contains a dampener." "A dampener?" "Your scent," Roman explained. It's problematic. Problematic. Sienna felt offended. I smell like cedar and salt. It's normal. To an average alpha, yes, Roman said, stepping closer, invading her personal space. He leaned down, inhaling near her neck, sending shivers down her spine. But to an apex, to me you smell like ghost blood. Sienna froze. That's a myth. Ghost wolves died out a century ago. They didn't die out, Roman whispered. They were hunted, because the female ghost wolves are the only ones capable of birthing true kings. Alphas who can command not just a pack, but the elements. Sienna's heart hammered against her ribs. You think I know you are, Roman said, pulling back. Declan suspected it. That's why he wanted you as a breeder but not a Luna. He wanted the power of your bloodline, without giving you the status. If the council finds out what you are, they will auction you off to the highest bidder. Sienna looked at the silver choker in her hand. It wasn't a symbol of slavery. It was camouflage. So you're hiding me, she realized. Not just from Declan, from everyone. I am hiding you until you are strong enough to survive them, Roman said. Put it on. Sienna hesitated, then clasped the cool metal around her neck. Instantly, a feeling of calm washed over her. Her anxiety dulled. Better, Roman said. Now, go to sleep. Tomorrow, your training begins. Training? If you are going to live in my house, Sienna, you are going to learn how to kill. I won't have a damsel in distress in my pack. Roman turned to leave, but stopped at the doorway. And Sienna, yes, lock your door. Why? She asked, eyes wide. Are you dangerous? Roman looked over his shoulder, his gold eyes glowing in the dim light. My wolf is, he said, and ever since you walked into my lobby, he hasn't stopped pacing. He closed the door, leaving her in silence. Sienna sank onto the bed. She had escaped a monster, only to lock herself in a tower with the devil. But as she touched the silver choker, she realized something strange. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel like prey. She felt like a weapon waiting to be forged. Life at the Sterling Tower fell into a brutal rhythm. Roman wasn't joking about the training. Every morning at 5 a.m., Sienna was in the private gym with Liam, Roman's beta. Liam was a jovial giant with a scar running through his eyebrow, contrasting sharply with Roman's icy demeanor. Keep your guard up, Liam barked, swinging a padded pugil stick at her. Sienna ducked, sweeping his leg. Liam stumbled, but didn't fall. Good, Liam grinned. You're fast, Sienna. Most Omegas freeze. You fight. I had to learn to dodge beer bottles at home, Sienna panted, wiping sweat from her forehead. Roman is impressed, you know, Liam said, tossing her a water bottle. He watches the security feeds. Sienna blushed. She hadn't seen Roman much in the last 2 weeks. He was always in meetings, or flying to London and Tokyo. But she felt his presence. Every night, fresh flowers, white lilies appeared in her room. No note, just the flowers. He doesn't talk to me, Sienna said. He's protecting you, Liam said, his voice dropping. The council is sniffing around. Declan has been spreading rumors. He's telling people Roman kidnapped you. That's a lie. Doesn't matter. Perception is reality in our world, which is why tonight is important. Sienna froze. Tonight, the winter solstice ball, Liam said. Every alpha in North America will be there, including Declan. I can't go. Sienna panicked. He'll smell me. The choker works, Liam assured her, and you have to go. Roman wants to debut you. As what, his charity case? No. A deep voice came from the entrance of the gym. Roman stood there, looking devastating in a fitted navy suit. He walked over to Sienna, ignoring Liam, who bowed and left the room. As my date. Roman finished. Sienna laughed nervously. You're joking. The Alpha King doesn't date Omegas. Tonight, you are not an Omega, Roman said, reaching into a garment bag he had brought with him. He pulled out a dress. It was emerald green velvet, strapless, with a slit that went up to her thigh. It was the color of deep forests. Tonight, Roman said, his eyes locking onto hers. You are the woman who brought the king to his knees. I didn't bring you to your knees, Sienna argued. Roman stepped closer, the magnetic pull between them stronger than ever. The dampener collar hummed against her skin, struggling to contain the reaction. Didn't you? Roman whispered. Get dressed, Sienna. We have a show to put on. The ball was held at the grand historic Navy Pier ballroom. It was a sea of diamonds, tuxedos, and dangerous predators. When Roman and Sienna walked in, the music literally stopped. Sienna clung to Roman's arm, her heart racing. She felt hundreds of eyes on her, assessing her, judging her. Chin up, Roman murmured against her ear. You are with me. You are untouchable. They moved through the crowd. Alphas bowed. Lunas stared with envy at her dress. Then, the crowd parted. Declan Pierce stood there. He looked haggard, his eyes bloodshot. Beside him was a woman, tall, blonde, beautiful, but with a cruel sneer. The Northern Alpha's daughter, his new fiancée. Well, well, Declan said, his voice loud enough to carry. Look who cleaned up. You put a diamond collar on the stray dog. Roman, it's still a dog. The room went silent. Roman smiled. It was a terrifying, shark-like smile. Careful, Declan, Roman said smoothly. Insulting my guest is an insult to me. Guest? Declan laughed. She's my mate, my rejected, broken goods. Tell me, Sienna. He sneered at her. Does he make you beg? Does he treat you like the whore you were? Crack? Before anyone could blink. Roman had crossed the distance. He didn't hit Declan. He simply grabbed Declan's throat and lifted him 6 inches off the ground. Gasps filled the room. Security started to move, but Roman's aura exploded outward, a wave of pure alpha dominance that forced every wolf in the room to their knees. Even Sienna felt her legs wobble, but Roman's other hand shot out and caught her waist, keeping her standing. She was the only one standing besides him. I warned you, Roman said to the choking Declan. Sienna is under my protection. If you speak to her again, if you look at her again, I will rip your tongue out in front of this entire assembly. He dropped Declan. Declan fell, gasping for air, humiliated in front of the elite. Roman turned to Sienna. Dance with me. It wasn't a request. He pulled her onto the dance floor. The orchestra, terrified, began to play a waltz. As they spun, Sienna looked up at him. You just made an enemy of half the room. Let them hate me, Roman said, as long as they fear me. Why? Sienna asked, tears pricking her eyes. Why go this far for me? Roman stopped spinning. They were in the center of the room. He looked down at her, and for the first time, he let his guard down. The ice melted. Because, Roman said, his voice rough, when I found you in the rain. Sienna, my wolf didn't want to protect you. Sienna's breath hitched. What did he want? He wanted to claim you. Roman confessed. I think the moon goddess made a mistake with Declan. I think you were never meant for him. He leaned in. His lips were inches from hers. The crowd disappeared. Roman, she whispered. Suddenly, the glass ceiling above them shattered. Black-clad figures rappelled down on ropes. Smoke bombs exploded. Screams erupted. Assassins! Liam shouted from the sidelines. Protect the king! Roman shoved Sienna behind him. Stay down! He roared, his claws extending. But the assassins weren't aiming for Roman. 3 of them landed in a circle around Sienna. They held tranquilizer guns loaded with wolfsbane. "Grab the girl," one of them shouted. "The master wants the breeder." Sienna realized with horror that this wasn't Declan. Declan was too proud for this. This was someone else. Someone who knew about the ghost blood. Roman tore through the first assassin, ripping his throat out. But there were too many. A dart hit Sienna in the neck. The world spun. Her legs gave out. The last thing she saw was Roman, his eyes glowing pure gold, roaring her name as he fought through a wall of enemies to get to her. Sienna. Then, everything went black. The first thing Sienna noticed was the smell. It wasn't the damp, earthy scent of a dungeon, nor the antiseptic sting of a hospital. It smelled like burning ozone and stale vanilla. She opened her eyes. The light was blindingly white, fluorescent strips humming aggressively overhead. She tried to move her hand to shield her eyes, but metal clinked against metal. She was strapped to a chair, a dentist's chair, or something like it, in the middle of a glass-walled room. Panic, cold and sharp, spiked in her chest. She thrashed, testing the restraints, leather straps reinforced with silver wire. They burned her skin slightly enough to weaken her wolf, preventing her from shifting. "I wouldn't struggle, my dear. The silver concentration is high. You'll only blister that porcelain skin." Sienna froze. The voice came from a speaker system, smooth, cultured, and utterly terrifying. A section of the glass wall slid open with a pneumatic hiss. A man walked in. He was older, perhaps in his late 50s, with silver hair meticulously styled and a white lab coat over a bespoke suit. He didn't look like a warrior. He looked like a CEO or a scientist. "Who are you?" Sienna rasped. Her throat felt like sandpaper. "Where is Roman?" The man smiled, adjusting his rimless glasses. "King Sterling is likely tearing Chicago apart right now. He is a very possessive man, but he won't find you. We are quite far away." He walked a circle around her, studying her like a lab specimen. He reached out and touched her neck. Sienna flinched. "Don't touch me." "The collar is gone," the man noted with satisfaction. "Sterling was foolish to hide you. He should have used you. But then, Roman always was too sentimental for his own good. You know him. I taught him," the man said softly. "My name is Silas Vane. I used to sit on the High Council until they exiled me for unethical experimentation." Sienna's blood ran cold. She knew that name. Silas Vane was a boogeyman story told to pups, the alchemist, the wolf who tried to cure mortality. "You're the one who hired the assassins," Sienna said. "You want me for what, ransom?" Silas laughed. It was a dry, cracking sound. "Ransom money is irrelevant. Sienna, I have unlimited resources. No, I want you for your biology." He picked up a tablet and tapped the screen. A holographic projection appeared in the air, a double helix of DNA, but parts of it were glowing a violent violet color. "This is your genetic sequence," Silas explained. "Do you see the violet strain that is the ghost gene? It hasn't been seen in a live specimen since 1924. "Roman said I can birth kings," Sienna whispered, remembering Roman's words. "Roman is thinking small," Silas scoffed. "Yes, your offspring would be powerful. But that takes years." "I don't have years." Silas leaned in close, his breath smelling of mints and chemicals. "I am dying. Sienna. A degenerative blood rot that affects only the oldest bloodlines. There is no cure, except transfer." Sienna pulled back as far as the straps would allow. "Transfer. If I drain your blood," Silas said matter-of-factly, "and replace my own with it, The regenerative properties of the ghost gene will not only cure me, it will make me an apex, stronger than Roman, stronger than any alpha who has ever lived. You're going to kill me, Sienna realized. The room spun. Not immediately, Silas assured her, turning to a tray of surgical instruments. He picked up a long, hollow needle. I need to harvest the blood slowly over several weeks to ensure the enzymes remain active. You are going to be my guest for a while. He walked toward her with the needle. No, Sienna screamed, pulling at the restraints. Let me go. Hold still, Silas commanded. The needle pierced the crook of her arm. Sienna cried out as he began to draw the first vial. Her red blood flowed into the tube, swirling with a faint, iridescent shimmer. Beautiful, Silas murmured, mesmerized. Suddenly, the alarms in the facility blared. Red lights flashed, replacing the white clinical glare with a hellish crimson. Silas looked up, annoyed. He pulled the needle out roughly, capping the vial. He tapped his earpiece. Report! A static-filled voice screamed over the comms. Breach Sector 4. It's oh God. It's a monster, it's... The line went dead with a wet crunch. Silas frowned. Impossible. This bunker is 500 feet underground in the Nevada desert. No one knows we are here. He looked at Sienna. She was pale, bleeding slightly from the arm, but her eyes were fierce. He found me, she whispered. A spark of hope ignited in her chest. If he is here, Silas sneered, pocketing the vial of blood, then he dies here. I have an army of genetically enhanced Reapers between him and this room. He turned to leave, pausing at the door. Guard her. If she moves, sedate her. If the intruder gets past Sector 2, kill her. I won't let Roman have the prize. The glass door slid shut. Two massive guards, their skin grey and veins bulging the Reapers. Silas mentioned, stepped in front of the door. Sienna was alone in the red flashing light. She could feel the vibration of explosions in the distance. Roman was coming, but Silas's order rang in her ears. If he gets close, kill her. Sienna looked at her arm. The puncture wound was already healing, much faster than a normal wolf. That was the ghost blood. She looked at the tray Silas had left behind. He had taken the needle, but he had left a scalpel. It was 3 feet away, too far to reach with her hands strapped. Sienna closed her eyes and focused. Roman had told her she wasn't just an Omega. She was something else. Use it, she thought. She focused on the vibration in the floor, the power of the earth. Ghost wolves were rumored to have a connection to the spirit realm, to the unseen. Move, she commanded the tray. Nothing happened. Move, damn you. The tray rattled. Sienna's eyes snapped open. She wasn't telekinetic, but the vibration. She could amplify the vibration from the explosions outside. She closed her eyes again, feeling the rhythm of Roman's assault miles above or rooms away. She synced her heartbeat to it. She imagined the table leg shaking. Clatter. The scalpel slid off the tray and fell onto the floor, bouncing within reach of her foot. She was barefoot. Sienna stretched her leg, her toes straining. She caught the handle of the scalpel between her big toe and second toe. She brought her knee up, contorting her body painfully until her foot was near her bound hand. It took 3 agonizing minutes. She sliced her own wrist twice by accident. But finally, the blade bit into the leather strap, sawing, cutting. Snap. Her right hand was free. Sienna undid the other straps quickly. She stood up, her legs shaky. She grabbed the scalpel properly now. The guards outside the glass door were looking down the hallway, distracted by the sounds of screaming and gunfire drawing closer. Sienna looked around the room. She couldn't fight 2 genetic mutants. She needed a distraction. Her eyes landed on a canister labeled liquid nitrogen, coolant. She grabbed it. It was heavy. She waited. The sound of footsteps, heavy. Wet footsteps approached the door. One of the Reapers turned and swiped his keycard. The door hissed open. "Boss says we move her." The Reaper grunted. Sienna didn't hesitate. She threw the canister at the Reaper's face and kicked it as hard as she could. The valve broke. Liquid nitrogen sprayed out in a freezing fog, blinding the Reaper and freezing his face instantly. He screamed, stumbling back. Sienna ran. She ducked under the second Reaper's swinging arm and sprinted into the hallway. The hallway was a war zone. Bodies of Silas's mercenaries were strewn everywhere. The walls were slashed with claw marks so deep they cut through steel. "Roman!" Sienna screamed. "Sienna!" The roar shook the walls. At the end of the corridor, through the smoke, a beast emerged. It wasn't Roman in his human form. It was his wolf. A massive, midnight black monster, standing on 2 legs, easily 8 feet tall. His eyes were burning gold. His muzzle was stained with blood that wasn't his. He saw her. The rage in his eyes vanished, replaced by a desperate relief. He dropped to all fours and bounded toward her. But before he could reach her, a steel grate slammed down from the ceiling, separating them. Silas's voice echoed over the intercom. "Touching reunion. But I'm afraid the exit is that way. Miss Hayes." The floor beneath Sienna opened up. She screamed as she fell into the darkness, sliding down a chute that led deeper into the earth. Roman roared, slamming his body against the steel grate, but it was reinforced with wolfsbane. He burned, but he didn't stop hitting it. Sienna slid for what felt like forever until she was dumped into a pile of hay. She groaned, sitting up. She was in a pit, a literal arena, and she wasn't alone. Standing on the other side of the pit was a creature that looked like a wolf. But wrong. It had no fur. Its spine was exposed. It was one of Silas's failed experiments, and it was hungry. Roman Sterling did not panic. Panic was for prey. Roman Sterling got efficient. When the assassins took Sienna, Roman didn't chase the van. He knew they would have switch vehicles. He knew they would have air support. Instead, he walked back into the center of the ballroom, his tuxedo torn, blood dripping from his claws. The guests were cowering against the walls. Declan Pierce was still there, looking terrified. Roman walked up to Declan. "You," Roman said. "I didn't do this." Declan squealed. "Roman, I swear I just wanted to humiliate her. I didn't hire a hit squad." "I know," Roman said calmly. "You're too incompetent to organize an extraction this clean." Roman grabbed Declan by the lapels. "But you know the underground routes. You move illegal shipments through the Nevada corridor. Who operates the airspace off the grid?" I don't know." Roman broke Declan's finger. "Just one. Snap!" Declan screamed. "Who?" Roman asked again. "The rogues." Declan sobbed. "The rogues in the Badlands. They control the no-fly zones. That's all I know." Roman dropped him. "Liam." Liam appeared at his side, looking grim. "Jet is fueled. Alpha. We're locked and loaded. We're not going to the safe house," Roman said. "Set a course for the Black Mountains." Liam's eyes widened. The Black Mountains, Alpha. That's Kael's territory. The Rogue King. He kills pack wolves on sight. If we land there, we're starting a second war. I don't care if I have to burn the entire world down. "Liam!" Roman snarled, wiping blood from his cheek. "I am getting her back." The Black Mountains were a desolate range of jagged peaks and dead forests. It was where the wolves who refused to bow to the council lived. Murderers, thieves, and those who were just tired of the politics. Roman's helicopter touched down on a flat plateau. The wind was howling. Before the rotors even stopped, they were surrounded. 50 wolves emerged from the tree line. They were scarred, dirty, and looked lethal. They didn't wear suits. They wore leather and tactical gear. A man stepped forward. He had a shaved head, tattoos covering his neck and face, and a massive axe resting on his shoulder. This was Kyle, the Rogue King. Roman stepped out of the chopper, alone. He held his hands up, palms open, but his posture was challenging. "Sterling," Kyle spat, his voice like grinding rocks. "You have some stones coming here. I should take your head for my collection." "You can try," Roman said evenly, "but I'm not here to fight you. Kyle, I'm here to buy you." Kyle laughed. The sound echoed off the mountains. "Buy me with what your fancy money?" "With amnesty," Roman said. The laughter stopped. The rogue wolves shifted uneasily. "I know you want back into the cities," Roman said, his voice carrying over the wind. "I know your people are starving out here. I know you want access to the hospitals for your pups." Kyle narrowed his eyes. "And you can give me that. I am the apex," Roman said. "I make the laws. Help me find the ship that crossed your airspace 2 hours ago, and I will sign a treaty granting the rogue land sovereignty and trade rights. Today—" Kyle studied Roman. He smelled the desperation on him. But he also smelled the truth. "Who did they take?" Kyle asked. "My mate." Roman lied. It wasn't a lie. He realized it as he said it. The bond hadn't snapped into place, but the instinct was there. She was his. Kyle grunted. He turned to his second-in-command. "Check the radar logs. Look for a stealth signature heading south." 10 minutes later, Kyle handed Roman a tablet. "Unregistered cargo plane. Landed in Sector 7. The old military bunkers. Silas Vane," Roman realized. "The old labs." "Vane." Kyle grimaced. "That sick bastard if he has your girl. She's already on a table." "Then I need to move fast," Roman said, turning back to the chopper. "Wait," Kyle said. Roman stopped. Kyle signaled his men. They lowered their weapons. "Vane took my sister 3 years ago," Kyle said, his face twisting in pain. "We never found her body. If you're going to kill him, I want in." Roman looked at the Rogue King. He saw the same rage that was burning in his own chest. "Get in," Roman said. Present time. The bunker. Roman and Kyle fought back to back. It was a massacre. Kyle fought like a berserker, his axe cleaving through the genetic monstrosities Silas called guards. Roman fought with surgical precision, ripping throats and breaking spines with terrifying efficiency. They reached the lab. Empty. "She's gone," Roman roared, overturning a steel table. "Smell that," Kyle said, sniffing the air. "Ozone and fear down below." They found the chute. "It leads to the disposal pit," Kyle said. "Old gladiator style? He dumps the failures there to eat the prisoners." Roman didn't wait. He jumped down the chute. He landed in the hay, rolling to his feet. What he saw stopped his heart. Sienna was cornered against the wall. The skinless creature was lunging at her. "Sienna!" Roman shouted, but he was too far away. Sienna didn't scream. She didn't cower. As the creature lunged, Sienna dropped to her knees, sliding across the dirt. She held the scalpel up. The creature's momentum carried it over her. Slash! Sienna gutted the creature from navel to throat as it flew over her. It crashed into the wall, thrashing, spilling black blood, and then went still. Sienna stood up. She was covered in dirt and blood. Her dress was in tatters. She was shaking, but she was alive. She looked at Roman. "Took you long enough," she said, her voice trembling. Roman crossed the arena in a blur. He slammed into her, wrapping his arms around her so tight it almost hurt. He buried his face in her neck, inhaling her scent salt, cedar, and blood. "I thought I lost you." He groaned against her skin. "I thought I lost you." Sienna clung to him, finally letting the tears fall. "He wants my blood. Roman. He's going to use it to become an apex." "He won't touch you again," Roman vowed, pulling back to look at her. His eyes were wild. "I'm going to rip this place apart, brick by brick." "Touching!" A voice boomed from the speakers above the arena. The floodlights turned on, blinding them. High above the pit, behind a viewing glass, Silas Vane stood clapping. "Bravo! Miss Hayes! Unexpected resourcefulness! And King Sterling! You brought a friend." Kyle dropped down into the pit next, his axe ready. He looked up at Silas and growled, "Vane! Come down here and die." "I think not," Silas said. "You see, I have what I needed." He held up the vial of Sienna's blood. "And now, I have the perfect test subjects for Phase 2. The walls of the arena began to rumble. Heavy blast doors opened on all four sides of the pit. "Roman," Sienna whispered, grabbing his arm. "What's behind those doors?" Roman sniffed the air. His face went pale. "Not what?" Roman said, pushing Sienna behind him. "Who?" Out of the shadows of the four tunnels stepped four wolves. But they weren't mutants. They were massive, glowing with a sickly green energy, their eyes vacant. They wore tattered remains of Alpha uniforms. "Recognize them." "Roman," Silas taunted. "The four Alphas who went missing last year. I've enhanced them. They don't feel pain. They don't have free will. They only have hunger." Silas smiled. "Kill the king." The four zombie Alphas roared in unison, a sound that shook the very foundations of the earth, and charged. The arena in the bowels of the Nevada desert became a slaughterhouse. The four reanimated Alphas were relentless. They felt no pain. They had no fear. They were engines of destruction, fueled by dark science and green serum. Kale, the rogue king, swung his massive axe, severing the arm of the first beast, but the creature didn't even flinch. It tackled Kale, snapping its jaws inches from his throat. "Get off me, you corpse!" Kale roared, struggling to hold the beast back. Roman was fighting two at once. He was a blur of motion, a master of combat. But he was tiring. He landed a crushing blow to the chest of one, shattering its ribs. But it just kept coming. These things didn't need to breathe. They just needed to kill. Sienna stood in the center of the chaos, clutching the bloody scalpel. She felt useless. Then, one of the creatures broke away from Roman. It turned its dead, milky eyes toward her. "Sienna, run!" Roman shouted, distracted. The second beast used that distraction to sink its teeth into Roman's shoulder. Roman roared in agony. The sound tore through Sienna's chest. It wasn't just empathy. It was a physical rip in her soul. The bond, the one she had been denying, the one Declan had mocked, suddenly flared to life like a supernova. She saw the creature charging at her. Time seemed to slow down. She could smell the rot on its breath. She could see the veins pulsing under its grey skin. But she didn't feel fear anymore. She felt ancient. Deep inside her DNA, the violet strand that Silas Vane coveted the ghost gene woke up. It recognized the danger to its potential mate. Sienna didn't run. She dropped the scalpel. She planted her feet. She opened her mouth, and a sound came out that wasn't human. It wasn't even a wolf's howl. It was a resonance, a high-pitch vibration that shattered the glass of the observation deck above them. "Kneel." The word wasn't spoken. It was projected. It hit the reanimated Alphas like a physical hammer. The creature, mid-air, inches from her face, slammed into the ground as if gravity had increased tenfold. The beast biting Roman released him and collapsed, whining, pressing its belly to the dirt. The one pinning Kyle froze, then slowly backed away, lowering its head. Silence fell over the arena. Kyle pushed the beast off him, staring at Sienna with wide, terrified eyes. "What in the hell?" Roman clutched his bleeding shoulder, looking at Sienna. He wasn't afraid. He looked reverent. "The voice," Roman whispered. "The ghost command. It can compel any wolf, living or dead." Above them, in the shattered observation deck, Silas Vane was frantic. He was pressing buttons, screaming into his comms. "Kill her, override the neural chips, kill her." But the alphas didn't move. They were trembling, pinned by the sheer weight of Sienna's will. "It's over." "Silas," Sienna shouted, looking up at the broken window. Her eyes were no longer brown. They were glowing a violent, luminous violet. Silas looked down at the vial of blood in his hand. "No," he hissed. "It's only beginning." He didn't wait to synthesize a serum. He didn't wait for testing. In a moment of pure desperation, Silas uncorked the vial of Sienna's blood and drank it raw. "Don't!" Roman yelled, realizing what was happening. Silas convulsed. He dropped to his knees, clutching his throat. Foam bubbled from his mouth. He screamed a sound that morphed from human to beastly. His body began to expand. His lab coat shredded. Bones cracked and realigned. The violet blood of the ghost wolf didn't cure him. It mutated him. It combined with his own experimental serums to create an abomination. The entire bunker shook. The ceiling of the arena began to crumble. "We have to go," Kyle shouted, grabbing his axe. "This whole place is coming down. The elevator is destroyed." Roman barked. "There's no way out." Sienna looked at the 4 reanimated alphas who were still bowing to her. "Yes, there is," she said. She walked up to the largest of the zombie wolves. She placed her hand on its head. It didn't bite. It nuzzled her hand, desperate for approval. "Get us out," Sienna commanded. The beast howled. It turned and ran toward the heavy blast doors the enemies had entered from. The other 3 followed. They hit the doors with the force of a battering ram, tearing the steel from its hinges. "Ride," Roman ordered, grabbing Sienna and hoisting her onto the back of the lead alpha. He jumped on the second. Kyle took the third. They galloped through the collapsing tunnels, riding the monsters that were meant to kill them, while the mountain imploded behind them. They burst out of the tunnel entrance into the cold desert night, just as the ground behind them sank into a crater. Dust and silence settled. "We made it," Kyle panted, sliding off his mount. "No," Roman said, looking at the crater. A massive hand, covered in black scales and fur, punched through the rubble. Silas rose from the debris. He was 20 feet tall, a hulking nightmare of muscle and bone spurs. He roared at the moon, and the sound carried a shock wave that knocked them all flat. He didn't attack them. He looked east, toward Chicago. He crouched and launched himself into the air, leaping miles at a time. "He's heading for the city," Roman said, his face grim. "He wants the throne." The battle for Chicago didn't happen in the shadows. It happened on live television. Silas Vane, now a creature the news dubbed the Titan, had torn through the National Guard blockades. Bullets bounced off his hide. Rockets only annoyed him. He sat atop the ruins of the John Hancock Center, roaring a challenge that every shifter in the city could hear. Submit or die. Below. The streets were chaos. But amidst the panicked humans, the wolves were gathering, the Obsidian Pack, the rogues from the Badlands, even Declan Pierce's Silver Creek Pack. They stood in a line on Michigan Avenue. Roman stood at the front. Kyle was to his right, and Declan Pierce was there, looking small and pale. "I didn't sign up for Godzilla," Declan whimpered. "We should evacuate." "Run, then, coward," Kyle growled. "But if you run, I'll kill you myself." Declan swallowed and held his ground. Roman looked at Sienna. She was wearing a tactical vest over her ruined dress. "Stay here," Roman said. "Organize the evacuation." "No," Sienna said. "He's strong because of my blood. I have to be there. Sienna, you can't fight that thing. You have the voice, but physically—" "Roman," she cut him off. She grabbed his face. "You can't kill him alone. You're an apex. He's a god monster. You need an edge." "What edge?" Sienna pulled him down and kissed him. It wasn't soft. It was a seal, a promise. "Mark me," she whispered against his lips. Roman froze. "Here now. If you mark me, the bond completes. My power flows into you. The ghost blood strengthens the alpha. It binds us for life," Roman warned. "No going back. No running away when this gets hard. I am done running," Sienna said fiercely. "Bite me, Roman." Roman's eyes glowed gold. He bared his fangs and sank them into the curve of her neck where her scent was strongest. Sienna gasped, pain mixing with a rush of euphoria. She bit him back, claiming him in return. Energy, hot and electric, surged between them. Roman's muscles swelled. His aura flared, turning from gold to a blinding white. He threw his head back and roared, and the sound rivaled Silas's from the rooftop. "Let's hunt," Roman growled. The final battle. Silas jumped from the tower, landing on the street with the force of a meteor. Cars were flattened. The army of wolves charged. It was a distraction, while Kale and the packs swarmed Silas's legs. Biting and slashing to slow him down, Roman launched himself. He was faster now, stronger. He hit Silas mid-chest, driving the giant back. They crashed through the glass front of the Sterling Tower lobby where they had first met. "You stole my power," Silas bellowed, his voice shaking the building. He backhanded Roman, sending him flying into a marble pillar. The pillar snapped. Silas raised a massive fist to crush Roman. "Stop!" Sienna stood at the entrance. Her eyes were blazing violet. She focused all her will, all the command of the ghost lineage, into a single spear of psychic pressure. Silas flinched. He clutched his head. "Get out of my head! Witch!" The distraction was enough. Roman shifted into his wolf, but he had changed. He was larger now, his fur streaked with silver, his eyes burning with white fire. The true king. He lunged, not for the throat, but for the chest. Silas tried to block, but Sienna screamed, "Hold!" Her command locked Silas's muscles for a split second. Roman's claws, reinforced by the bond's power, tore through Silas's impenetrable hide. He ripped the mutated heart right out of the Titan's chest. Silas gasped. The violet light in his eyes faded. He toppled backward, crashing onto the marble floor. The Titan was dead. The aftermath. The sun rose over a battered Chicago. The Titan's body was dissolving into ash, a side effect of the unstable genetics. Roman stood in the middle of the street, human again, naked from the waist up, covered in black dust and blood. He walked to Sienna. The gathered wolves, hundreds of them, from rival packs, rogues, and city elites watched in silence. Declan Pierce stepped forward. He looked at Roman, then at Sienna. He saw the mating mark on her neck. He fell to his knees. "All hail the Alpha King," Declan mumbled. Then, Kyle the Rogue King stepped forward. He slammed his axe handle onto the pavement. And the Ghost Queen. One by one, every wolf on the avenue knelt. Sienna looked at Roman. He wasn't looking at the crowd. He was only looking at her. "I told you," Roman said, a weary smile touching his lips. "You were never the guest. You were the variable that won the war. 3 months later, the Stirling Tower had been rebuilt. Sienna stood on the balcony of the penthouse, looking out at the city. She wore a silk gown, and around her neck there was no collar, just the fading scar of Roman's bite, a mark of pride. The door opened. Roman walked in. He wrapped his arms around her waist from behind. "The council meeting is over," he said, kissing her shoulder. "They agreed to the treaty. The Rogue lands are now an independent territory under Kael's rule, and the Pine Ridge Pack." "What about Pine Ridge?" Sienna asked. "Declan has been removed," Roman said with satisfaction. "Stripped of his rank. He's currently working sanitation in the lower districts. I thought it fitting." Sienna laughed softly. "You're cruel." "I'm just," Roman said. He turned her around. His hand rested on her stomach. "And," he whispered, his voice full of wonder, "I can hear 2 heartbeats." Sienna smiled, placing her hand over his. "A ghost wolf and an apex. The world isn't ready for this baby. Let them try to take what is ours," Roman said, his eyes flashing gold. "I have a war to win." "No," Sienna said, leaning her head on his chest. "No more wars. Just us." Roman kissed her, the Chicago skyline glittering behind them. The rejected Omega was gone. The Queen had risen, and the Alpha King was finally, truly, home. And so, Sienna Hayes went from a rejected outcast running in the rain to the most powerful queen the wolf world has ever known. She proved that true strength isn't about the title you're born with, but the fire you walk through. Roman and Sienna's reign is just beginning, and something tells me their child is going to have quite the story of their own. Wow. What a journey. I hope you guys enjoyed this roller coaster of a story. I have to ask, do you think Declan's punishment was enough, or should Roman have ended him right there on the street? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to see a sequel about their child, or hear more stories like this, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a chaotic romance. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.